And Mr. Chairman, congratulations, Commissioner Pai, and it was good to see all of you. You know, I just wanted to comment very quickly on the number of my colleagues here, both sides of the aisle, are talking about the independence of the agency, the independence of you and your chairman position. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's important, so I'm glad that topic's come up. I also think you shouldn't use as the example of independence the last chairman, who a number of us viewed, you know, more of a lieutenant of the White House and an independent agency. So when my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are talking about your independence from the Trump administration, we want you independent, but don't use the last chairman as a model, because I don't think, a lot of us don't think he was very independent at all. I want to, first of all, thank all of you. I know you took a lot of time working hard on the Alaska plan. I know you mentioned Chairman Pai in your opening remarks. And it was very apparent that you all dug into that and worked hard with your staffs. Is there any lessons learned you can mention, you know, to me or my constituents on challenges or opportunities in Alaska that, you know, you learned from kind of working on that issue? I know it wasn't a unanimous order, but still, you guys were all very well intentioned. You saw some of the extreme challenges we had up there. I'd welcome any comments on that for just kind of future reference, because there was so much good work done on that.
Absolutely, Senator. First, I want to thank my colleagues for working collaboratively, even if we didn't agree on every jot and tittle. I think we got a product across the finish line that hopefully will benefit Alaskans. One of the things that I think I draw from it is just that Alaska's vastness and complexity is so different from anything you see in the lower 48. I mean, I've been in a fiber trench seeing the permafrost in Fort Yukon, and I've been sinking in quicksand outside of Barrow, and I've seen the mountains of Cordova, and how you try to deploy a next-generation network in a place that's so topographically challenging is just it's just mind-numbing, the complexity of it. And so we need to make our rules as simple as possible, but also reflect the difficulties of deploying in Alaska. And that's not going to be an easy square to circle, so to speak, but we've got to do our best to do it, because Alaskans deserve digital opportunity just as much as anyone in the lower 48.
Well, I appreciate that sentiment. Any other commissioners on just lessons learned from that?
In my visits to Cordova, which is beautiful, and Kotzebue and some of the other remote villages, it just underscored the fact that telemedicine and other types of opportunities, the infrastructure needed to support that is so critical. You should not have to get up on that plane and sitting in the cockpit next to the pilot, which again, I need therapy still from that, and to get help. There are opportunities that are unique to Alaska that we need to enable. So that, for me, from that visit a few years ago, really drove home the need for a targeted, tailored approach to delivery of services.
Great, thank you. Commissioner O'Reilly.
I would agree with my two colleagues. They hit the nail on the head. Alaska is so different, so unique, that I was willing to work on projects that were just tailored to Alaska. When other states have said, oh, we're unique, it's not even comparison to what happens in Alaska and what they're forced to face with in such a short building cycle. I agree also with Commissioner Clyburn in terms of telehealth. What they're able to do with very small dollars in remote parts of the state are very impressive. It's a model I called for when I returned from my visit, that we should look elsewhere. Other places using telehealth and telemedicine are really eating up some significant dollars, whereas Alaska has been very efficient and addressed the issue very thoughtfully.
Let me ask a related question to that. And there was some discussion earlier on in the hearing about interagency cooperation. And I'm just interested whether it's E-rate or rural health care programs, or, as you mentioned, Department of Transportation road building with cable. Do you need additional authorities from the Congress as an independent agency to make sure that you're working closely, say, with the Department of Education? I talked to Secretary DeVos about this on, you know, education or telehealth with the HHS secretary. Or how much are you doing that, and do you need additional authorities from the Congress to be able to do that in a much more robust manner? Because I think, as you saw in the hearing today, everybody agrees that that's a good idea. Right. you agree it's a good idea, but what do we need to help you do that better with more legal authority?
That's a good question, Senator. To be candid, I'm still getting my feet wet, so to speak, in my new role, and part of that involves liaising with my counterparts at other agencies. Thus far, I haven't seen any legal or other impediment to being able to reach out to some of my counterparts, but if and when we do encounter some barrier like that, I'll be sure to let you know, because the last thing we want is for agencies not to be steering in the same direction.
Well, why don't you, when you get your feet settled, if you can get back to us on that, I think you'd see broad bipartisan support for enhancing your ability to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I'm sorry.
Oh,
Senator, I just wanted to let you know that we're attempting to heal ourselves too. We, a couple of years ago, established a Connected Health Task Force that is attempting to do that, work with other agencies like HHS and the department, other departments, to ensure that there are no barriers when it comes to provisioning services that are so vital to our community. So I just want to let you know that where we can, we are doing so.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Sullivan.